Welcome everybody to our next episode of the Friendly CTA podcast. My name is Alex Duadari, aka the Asset Manager, and with me my good friend and partner here, Rami El Ali from El Ali Holding. Good to see you. كل عام وأنت بخير.
وانت بألخير. Yeah, been celebrating lately, since Ramadan and the fasting is over. The focus is again on, the hustle is back, and the second part of our podcast is back. I think we're going to continue here, and it's going to be a fun and a nice journey in experience.
Eid Mubarak to everyone of our Muslim viewerships here at this point as well. So I hope you had a great last few days and celebrated, and now getting back into the action just like we do. Speaking of action, I think an important topic that literally everyone and his mother is talking about is, and I know that you have been also mentioning this repeatedly, especially when I look at your trade outlooks and your general, let's just say, direction of the market that you are, let's just say, having more emphasis on. Are we going to see a recession or not? What's your take on this?
Look, at the end, my opinion. I do believe we will see a recession, and I do believe that whatever happens at the market right now is manipulated. What do I mean by that? Many companies and many banks would be already gone if it wouldn't be for the central banks. So in my opinion, of course, there's companies that are writing good numbers and they're fully booked here, but there's a lot of companies that are just existing. And I think they're just existing because there was a long time cheap money available.
Zombie companies, basically, that don't earn the money that they're basically spending.
Exactly. So I believe that the increase of the interest rate of the Central Bank of America, the Federal Reserve Bank, will not affect the market immediately, but it will affect the market soon. And once that hits, I think we will see a recession. And I do believe...
That's an interesting thing that you say there, because typically it is really that, and many economists have said that in the past, is that for the effects of interest rates changes to really trickle through all levels of the economy, it takes about 12 months. And if you look at when did we have the first interest rate hike, it's a year ago. So we're right at the threshold of the effects to come full circle, more or less.
So that it's just, you just have to, I think a lot of people don't understand directly what increasing interest rates means. You know what I mean? I mean, increasing interest rates means that if you're a father of 3 kids and you have a family, or a mother of 3 kids and you have a family, and you used to pay your mortgage, and the mortgage gets recalculated or refinanced, and you used to pay 880 euros. All of a sudden, you need to pay 1,660 euros.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Twice the price.
And that's on every level of the economy. That's not just because the bigger part of the economy, not just the businesses, but also the people. Many are using debt for financing themselves. But more or less, you're selling the future to celebrate the now, I guess. And that's somehow what it is, right? And it was cheap. You could, because if your interest rate was 0, you would take a loan, you would pay it off some, and then when the time came to pay the full loan or the rest of the loan back, you'd just say like, hey, I don't have that money. Let me take a loan for the loan. And then because it was 0, it's fine. But now when you take a loan for your existing loan, that new loan is going to be a lot higher. So your monthly payment will be a pain, a real pain. And that's what we see on credit cards, on business loans, on every level, basically. And for that to go all through, let's just say, all levels of the economy and all stages of, whether it's when you buy material for your company, or, because a lot of stuff is forward financed, and none of that is going to continue to be easily financed like that. And the problem is that these things are a little bit like a self-fulfilled prophecy, because when it comes to the consumer, and the consumer, because the wages, basically the money the consumer is making, have not grown in the same amount, then the consumer cannot consume anymore. And once the consumer stops paying money for goods and services, or not able to pay money for goods and services the way he used to or she used to, then the earnings of the companies will go down. That's, I think, there's no two opinions about that. How much they will go down, that's the next thing, and whether people will sell off stocks because of it. Because from a valuation perspective, stocks, or the price of a stock, normally has to do with the amount of money the company is making, right? And yeah, so, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if we live in a world where people just buy whatever and don't care about any fundamentals, then maybe maybe that's going to take more time to show, because I can tell you who is not going to buy regardless, and that's banks, hedge funds, and all of these things. And actually, the other day, someone asked me on Instagram, and he said, like, he asked that a lot of traders, mentors, or whatever out there, and nobody was able to give him an answer. And he said, like, hey, your answer, the first one that makes sense to me, is that he asked me, we're seeing record low trading volumes on the Nasdaq, on the S&P 500, on the German DAX. Like, why? How is that? Why is there so low trading volumes? And my answer was, because I think a lot of the big money is on the sidelines because of these, let's just say, the bad weather that is brewing in front of their faces. And also because you have the high interest rates, there are alternatives. Like, I mean, think about it. Would you want to go in the stock market to maybe make, on average, 8-9% a year with that kind of risk in front of you that you may lose 20, 30, 40, 50%? Or I make 4% a year with zero risk.
That's exactly the reason why, for example, I started to become more cautious also in my company, where we do offer, signals, where we do offer analyze. People ask me, like my team and members, they ask me why we do not do more multiple entries. And it's just what you said right now, it's the risk. It's the risk to know. We are almost in the German DAX, for example, we are at almost the all-time high. But looking at the economy of Germany, knowing the fundamentals of Germany, as much as they look for some people good, I know what it takes to have a good economy. And I can tell you for one thing for sure, people don't have the money. They don't have more money than before. I agree. So inflation is growing. People can afford less. It's just a matter of time. I'm telling you, the market is on steroids because of the central banks.
Yeah, the extra liquidity. I mean, let's, speaking of data, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, also, we started having a new mentality. There's a lot of new people that came into the market. It's not like back the days. I think since Corona, you can clearly see the market changed. What means that almost every dip, if you really look at the market, it doesn't matter how the news, get published, positive, negative, the market is getting bought by the retailers.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand, don't get me wrong. I would never buy Pepsi, McDonald's, or whatever they called at this stage. I would not buy it.
Yeah, the multiples are crazy. And I do agree that, and I think the low volumes in the market show us that it is only retail that is being in the market, or for the most part. And the smart money is going to wait for a washout, and then for central banks to turn around again, and then to enter with the big money again. That's my opinion. Because speaking of data, I think it's always interesting to look at data. Just this week, we had data, because there is, as you say, there's a mismatch, right, between how high the markets are trading, and while the metrics are clearly showing more and more recession type of stuff incoming, right? Like, we had the Fed index, which is like an industrial index out of the US that gives you a very good idea about the state of economic output, I guess, in the US. And it's at minus 31.3. It's at its lowest since May 2020. So right after the C19 crash. And another thing, there has never been not a recession when the Fed was below -25. So that's number one. And I'll show that screenshot actually in the video then, depending on how the video goes. But I just thought that I took you some notes for a couple of numbers that I thought are really, they're just reality. Second thing is initial jobless claims, like how many people are registering for not having a job, right? Or for getting out of a job. And I think that's going to get worse and worse and worse, because the first thing companies need to do is to reduce their costs. Even all these finance companies that you talk about, they got the money from VCs, easy money from banks, from central banks, from all of that. These investors, they cannot write these checks anymore. They're going to tell them, what did you do to reduce your costs first? What do you do to reduce your costs? You fire people. You hire AI.
You know what?
It's not funny, but that's just the reality.
Why are you speaking about data? What I like always to look at, maybe it helps a few people here, is to look at the data from of the tech companies. And I always get concerned if those big tech companies, such as Amazon, such as Netflix, such as Meta,
Apple,
Apple starting cutting costs, you know what I mean? If they start selling their stocks, if they start, for example, reducing, their manpower, and then it shows me, or it proves me, that they're thinking ahead, you know what I mean? And they know
they have to, yeah.
They know much more than we know. If Meta cuts costs, one of the biggest platforms where you can basically advertise, if not the biggest platform on and I can tell you, and I can promise you for a fact, that doesn't mean they're looking ahead and
positively. Yeah, I agree. And just to finish the thought of the initial jobless claims, they have increased by over 34% since their low. The continuing jobless claims, meaning people that haven't had no job and continue to have no job, has increased by 44% since its low point 3 years ago. Just think about that. So the amount of people that are out of a job is already growing. That's why I'm not telling you the number of how many people are just like in percentage of the complete population. It's just like how much did it increase? That's a relative value. It gives you a lot more of an idea of what is going on, what development is happening, where's the trajectory going, right? And also what you just said, to your point, because large companies that are looking at laying off people by law have to issue warnings in the US. And the amount of people, the amount of warning notices by these companies is at a record high. So again, you should expect, and you will see more and more layoffs, and that's just insane. And there's many other numbers here, but I don't want to bore people to death with that. But even you see the big banks like JP Morgan, for example, saying that even a milder recession, if we really have that soft landing type of scenario happening, would us retest the previous lows, which is about 15-20% from where we are right now. So, and that's when things go good.
I mean, they say it's mild recessions. Okay, we know one thing. Nobody really, you can forecast based on data what's going to happen. But do you know what happens if people start panicking? And we had that since we saw that in Corona, when people start panicking.
Right.
Where the market, which I have never seen, the market stopped. The NASDAQ stopped to trade.
Yeah.
Don't stop to trade. The French.
Multiple times, actually. Not just once, yeah.
Most all the markets stopped. You know what I mean? The only one that didn't stop was the German market, which...
And those that don't know, basically there are rules. They are more or less circuit breakers. If the market drops a certain amount in a certain time, a few hours, then they stop it from trading for that day or for the next 6 hours or something. Then there's different rules.
The German doesn't have that kind of rule, because I saw the German dropping and dropping and dropping.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There was basically no rule.
All things considered, the economic situation in Germany now compared to when we had the Corona crash is 50 times worse.
That baffles me, by the way. Why we are almost at all-time highs.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Of course, now some people will tell you, or the companies, they do pretty well. Maybe there's a few companies that does very
well, yeah.
Yeah, but if you look really, really into the outlook for the future, it doesn't look like it's going to be, even better, because people afford less. And as you said, if you can afford less gains for the companies, and that's
And plus, in the biggest problem in Germany is that, I mean, we did see the DAX, I think, recover more than, for example, its US counterpart, because it was underpriced before that in comparison. It was like oversold maybe, but that gap closed, in my opinion, by now easily, if not too much. Now it's overpriced essentially, and most of these German companies, in one shape or another, they're industrial companies. Industrial companies need energy. What does Germany have on its hands? The biggest energy crisis ever, the most expensive energy in the whole world. Do you think that industrial companies that need energy to produce their goods and material, that they can survive well if in that environment? It's just like, and they're actually they're leaving the country too. That comes on top, So, and that's also, by the way, even now we see like we talked about the last episode about the dollar weakness. I think Europe has a much bigger problem on their own currency than has in comparison. So for that very reason, because its economic engine, Germany, has committed suicide. And I mean, the patient is not completely dead yet. It's like more or less a dead cat bounce, more or less. People are still hoping for, I don't know what exactly, but technically, the patient is already dead, in my opinion. And that saddens me, being German from Germany, to be honest, a lot.
We will speak, by the way, we will have an episode where we
about Germany in particular, yeah.
Definitely, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's our home country, and Germany has a lot of issues. You spoke just about a few ones, I mean, we can go all the way and dive into the labor shortage that Germany has, because of the way how they created their, education system. But that's a different topic. Let's summarize this. I mean, you and me believe, based on data, based on the past, that it's just a matter of time when the market is dropping, in my opinion, because I don't think an engine can run on a long term like that.
Well, without the necessary power. I agree. We're totally aligned here. I do. Nobody knows when exactly and to what extent, but it's practically impossible that we will not see a bigger dip, in my opinion.
And I mean, the only thing that people ask me how to deal with that, I always keep saying the same. Once you hit a certain, like number, like let's take the German DAX, at the end of the day, all you can do is to be careful.
Take a lot of risks. I agree, yeah.
Risk, don't drive this.
And there's time to take more risk because there's an environment for that, and there's time to take less risk because of an environment for that. And I can tell you, like most people that I know that have bigger capital, they are happy to sit in dollars, in treasury funds, and treasury notes, making and money market funds making 4 to 5%. Even Apple now offering that from their app. Do you know how many people will go out of the stock market by click on their phone just to make their 4 or 5% a year without risk?
Without doing basically anything. And of course, if you have capital 4 or 5%,
why would you risk, right? I mean, you wouldn't. You actually, that's keeping your powder dry to buy the dip.
Exactly.
I mean, but speaking of opportunity, because to shift the topic here a little bit, because I know that that's an arena where you are an absolute world-leading expert, much more than I am, is the topic of prop trading accounts, because they seem to me that new promised land for everyone. Now you can get Fremdkapital, as we say in German. Now you can get capital from somebody else, and you'll become this rich trader overnight. And before I give my, again, more data-based approach, I'd love to know what you think about it, because, again, just to start with a positive note, I don't think it's inherently bad nor good. I think you should understand the realities of it. And for someone who's really, I think, committed to trading in a good way, that's actually a great opportunity. So let's start there. And I'm happy to hear, because you've helped, as far as I understand, many people to get funded accounts. You run than yourself as well, right? So you are really very much an expert when it comes to that. Give us your point of view.
Of course, look, I mean, you brought it to the point. It's not good, it's not bad. It has its pros, it has its cons. And just to start with, having those companies providing you capital or providing you money at the beginning for your trading career, if you don't have a six-figure number sitting in your account and you don't want to risk it, I mean, that's
very important.
That's the smartest and the easiest idea to get into the market. But here's the but. You need the skill. So what I do sell to the people is, listen, to go and have a job that brings you in 2,500 euros or 5,000 euros, you don't need to work 9 to 5. Because if you master the skill of trading and you get this trading capital, making 2,500 to 5,000 euros is not a big deal with those.
It's from a mathematical perspective, it's not that difficult.
Now here comes the problem. A lot of people are not educated, so they don't know how to calculate the risk. A lot of people underestimate the emotions, and I can tell you for a fact.
Seriously, they do? I'm kidding you.
I can tell you for a fact, there's more people that loses than win.
Oh, I have interesting numbers for that, but I want to listen first.
You have the numbers, and I think we spoke about the numbers once too.
Yeah.
Is one thing, because I think it gets a lot of times misunderstood. Of course, there's those numbers out there, but what I can tell you from my perspective, from my company, what I see of, I see the payouts,
Mm-hmm.
It all comes down where you learn, how you learn it, and if you're greedy or not, and
right.
A lot of people, Alex, I have to be honest with you, a lot of people, they just don't understand how trading works.
Yes, they confuse it with gambling. That's really the bottom line. We've seen that so many times.
Exactly, and let's be honest here. I feel always trading gets always smashed in this industry, also in the prop trading industry. But let's be honest here. How many people can be company owners, entrepreneurs? I mean, it's a small percentage. We're speaking about
the stats are not any better. I agree. Or can be a leader in any field. You're successful in any field. I agree.
So, of course, the majority fails. The majority of people...
And for the majority to fail is not an attribute of quality for the issue itself. Because if you look at anything, the majority fails at making their bet. The majority fails at playing the piano. You know what I mean? The majority fails at basic math. No offense. So it's really... It's the personal effort that makes all the difference. And what I do think what I like about what you say is that because you are in the trenches again, like in the war zone of exactly that process, and you've seen payouts, and regularly you've led people to these payouts. So you do. So I do see from your perspective why you where you're coming from. And I think that's really positive. Now, speaking to all these people that confuse trading, which is, guys, and I spoke about that the last time here as well, it's not as easy as it looks. It's the most difficult, easy way to make money, right? And because like Rami said, it's to have your emotions in check, to follow your strategy, to adjust your strategy, to have a strategy in the first place. All these things, they take a lot of effort, and people underestimate that. And that's why these prop companies can pay these payouts, because the way it works is that, and let me throw in the numbers here. 1 out of 12.5 people pass the first challenge. That means those are from my Forex Fund published numbers. That may not go for all these prop accounts, but that's a representative exemplary number.
It's very powerful.
Just so people get an idea. And so that means 8% of all people that start a challenge receive a funded account. 92% don't. That's good. That's the money that's actually being paid out to people later on. 1 out of 28.5 people from these 8% get a profit payment. That's 0.28% of all people that start these challenges. What that number tells me is that, or 99.72% fail. What that number tells us is that these 99% people, they are gambling. They are recklessly trying something they're not prepared for. And the other 0.8%, they are taking, they are harvesting the advantage of that. And let's also be honest, a big part or big chunk of that money stays with the provider because they know how to run a business like that, how to make these numbers work for them, how to manage their risk. And they must make money. Otherwise, this opportunity will not exist in the market, and it's always the companies, always the providers, it's always the casino that makes the most money in any business. Do you think, Apple doesn't make most of the money in the phone business?
I mean, it says always the house wins,
Right.
So,
because they're building the infrastructure, they're creating everything, they,
but the thing is here, those numbers are right, but don't forget one thing, I don't, a lot of people think I'm pro get funded, but what I want to say is it's still something there that I like about it. It gives you opportunity, Alex, that you and me, we didn't have.
100%.
I
would have killed for such an opportunity.
Exactly. I lost a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Actually, that side is even worse because there's the one side that, hey, I don't have money to trade. And then there's people, I have money and I'm fucking losing it. And that part is really painful. No, pay $500 for challenges instead of losing your $100,000 account. What are you talking about? There's no comparison.
Exactly. Also, at the end of the day, I do believe it's, how do you say it in English? I would say it helps you, but it doesn't, because the cons with those prop trading companies is they tell you exactly what's your drawdown. They tell you exactly how to trade sometimes. Sometimes they tell you you're not...
they make the rules of the game, basically.
Exactly. They basically dictate you what you have to do.
And sometimes that doesn't fit in with the market dynamic. And they know that.
Exactly. And then look, and this is the point, if you're educated and you're smart enough, you understand when it makes sense to have those accounts, when it doesn't make sense to have those accounts.
Right.
I can tell you, out of my perspective, being many, many times in the leaderboard of big trading companies of those, I've been in the top 10. I was on the first spot for many times and paid out 6 figures. I can tell you it's possible. I proved it. I showed the people. It's even possible to make a big five-figure number. But now comes the point.
In a single payout, you mean?
In a single payout.
Yeah.
Calculated. We can put in all the screenshots so people can check that, so
right.
Nobody, we say,
sure,
telling bullshit, because you never know. So, which means paid out all this money, but it takes you a lot of skill, emotionally being controlled, and it takes a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of skill. But to get there, in order to get there, now it comes the point, you can't just show up and think because you're trading via YouTube 3 months, you're going to do rock and roll. But unfortunately, that's how it got sold to everyone. And that's the reason why most of the people fail. That's why I tell my people, when they join me, it might take you a year. It might take you even 2 years. It might take you 3 years.
And that's actually my personal criticism to the industry as a whole, whether it's the Forex trading brokerage industry or it's just a repackaged Forex industry type of offer, in my opinion, the prop trading, is that the way they do marketing, the way they are aggressively paying affiliates, because they make so much money on their themselves, they can pay so much money to people that bring them customers. And because they have the technology to scale, they can easily have 1 million customers, and it doesn't, and every customer costs them very little because everything's automated. They have their backends and all of that. The way it's aggressively sold in a completely wrong way when it comes to reality of trading, that's my criticism to the industry. And I wish and I hope that one day that might change. But I'm not getting my hopes up because people, probably it's more human nature than anything else. People will just chase the gold always, right?
They don't understand it's a job. I mean, in order to be good at a job, you need to learn it. You know, if you don't learn it properly, you can't be a doctor. You're right. I would not. I would
Much easier, right? No, it's not. Everything's extremely difficult. Yeah.
I mean, I would not trust a doctor that tells me, "Oh, I just graduated and I just did."
On YouTube.
I watch videos on YouTube, and now I can,
You'll be fine. Don't worry. I'll operate on you. 100%. 100%.
Do you get my point? So that's why we say trading is possible. It's possible, And I give you a last example just to understand what's possible. I have customers that been with me now 3 years, 2 years, and I'm saying regularly payouts every month. So this guy makes on a good day $200 to $300. If you calculate it, sometimes he does less, sometimes he does more. If you calculate it at the end of the day, this guy makes maybe $4,000 to $5,000. For him, it's more than enough in order to say I earn above average, above the German average.
Which is true. It's twice of that.
I'm my own boss. And this guy, he risks for every trade on his prop trading company, on his prop trading account, only $50, not more. Only $50 per trade. If you can do that kind of trading and you know what you do, you can pay yourself out on a long run.
Yeah, that's actually fantastic to hear, and it brings me to the next very important point. Is that because I have been, I used to run a trading mentorship as well. I don't do that for a while anymore. I could tell you also why and what I used to do. So what I used to do is that I would not, my thinking was that in order to be really good in trading, you'll need to internalize what you're doing to a very strong degree, right? You need to really be in sync completely with what you're doing. That's why, and I still support that statement, is that the best way to be really successful in the market is to have your own strategy. So my mentorship was around helping people and give them all the guidelines, all the learnings, I did hundreds of hours of videos. I did many live calls, all of that, to teach people how do you develop your own strategy. And I gave them examples and I gave them ideas. And I also had an online portal where people would actually start to develop their strategy based on all the blueprints and videos and everything that I would give them. And then I would give them individual feedback back. Like they would post their backtest results, their trading logs, their journals, their screenshots, all of that. And I would give them, okay, probably you should do better here, or you should pay more attention to that. So I would give them individual feedback. And as this mentorship grew, the amount of people that I got that had very wrong expectations of me and of themselves, actually mostly, grew a lot as well. And but before you know it, you're being called a scam, you're being called a faker, and all of these things. When in reality, the people that actually give you that bad Trustpilot review are just either lazy or they expect, they pay you, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, and you give them literally 20 years of experience and hundreds of hours of videos and give them individual attention, and they still think it's overpriced. Guys, what do you think? I have 24 hours technically a day. You know what I mean? So their expectations from that alone is so skewed in the wrong place. They neither have the right commitment. They don't work themselves as hard as they need to. And they think you are the Messiah that's gonna make them magically make millions of dollars overnight. And here you are, the bad guy. So that's why I stopped doing that, because I just felt that this isn't going in a direction that I wanted it to develop, because there were too few people. I also have to say, I have a few of my students that are successful, that are making money in trading. They built their own stuff now, and I'm extremely proud of that I had been an influence for people to make their dreams come true. But as you say, the percentage of these were not as high. And as I noticed that too many people chasing gold with wrong expectations, making me the bad guy on top, calling me to scam when they're basically scamming themselves, that just gave me enough, right? And now I listen to you and you have to say, I'm sure you have your own stories.
I just wanted to say that we're actually at the next topic,
Yeah, right. It's about,
if you don't put in the work, it's just because you don't put in the work, it's not a scam.
exactly that. 100%.
I mean, you made the best description. Look, I think I established myself personally pretty well in this industry, but I totally agree with you. There's a lot of people that is out there and just calls you a scam, or calls whatever you do as a scam. I mean, the problem is it's mainly because we target the German market or the Austrian or the Swiss market.
Yeah, German speaking, yeah.
And I want to say something. That's the issue in those markets. I want to talk. That's all. And then we come to a conclusion, I guess, because education is for free in those kind of markets. I believe that all the people think that when they pay $2,000 or $3,000 or even $6,000 for education, they think it's a lot. But in fact, it's nothing, because
Nothing.
if you compare it to whatever, I mean, if you compare it to US colleges or Australian colleges or Canadian colleges, where you sit there 3 years and you do believe that maybe with a lot of luck, you get those corporate jobs where someone is going to pay you at once.
Right.
So
And you get in debt for the rest of your life doing that.
and you're willing to say yes.
Yes.
You do that. Where do you do that? You do that in those countries that I just mentioned now. But in Germany or Austria or in Switzerland,
Even UK, yeah, like anything Europe, yeah.
the taxpayer pays for you. I mean, you pay just a little amount from the,
It's a big entitlement, right? That's there. Yeah, it's true.
and that's why we have that kind of industry that says, "Oh no, your education is too much." I think call it coaching, call it education, call it whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it will shift anyway. No one will believe in the school system in Europe anymore, because you can do coding without a school, without a university. You can learn to run your online shop without coding, without a store, without any other of those traditional education systems. Of course, when it comes to the traditional businesses, being a baker, being someone that fixes things like mechanics.
Something else, right? Yeah, but they don't make that kind of money neither, right?
There we go. You do have some of them, that run.
There's a trade-off here, yeah. And also an interesting part is that when you are a bad student, you could be at a high-cost college and only get drunk. You're not going to learn anything, and you're going to lose your money. So, for example, I also had a situation where one of these students gave me a bad review, or as I said, saying it was, why? Because he said it was unpersonal, and even though he had live calls with me, and I gave him individual responses, and then I looked up in my portal, what did he do exactly again, just to see that review, and then I see that he didn't even watch 10% of the whole video material. So here you have a guy complaining publicly, being this online Rambo, tarnishing your reputation more or less with a click of a button because it has no cost to him. And in return, he didn't even go for the material that he paid for.
I can, when it comes to review, I can tell you stories and
I'm sure.
You will not even believe. But this is the problem with the internet. I never met such a person in person.
Yeah.
Came to my table and sat down, and said to me, Rami, listen, you're a scam, you're this, you're that. Calling someone a scam easy, especially in the internet. And I don't give up on that, you know what I mean? They can write whatever they like. What I started believing in, I do have the power and I do have the money to fight it, It's not easy. It's not easy, but I fight it. And I can just laugh about these kind of people, because at the end of the day, don't forget, if they would have a life, they would really...
They wouldn't do that. Yeah. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are failing. So I have sympathy in the end. I'm a little saddened by the fact that they're cheaping out of the challenge more or less by pointing fingers at somebody else. Because I can tell you one thing, guys, you will never be successful in anything in life, nor will you be satisfied and happy if you keep finding other reasons for your own successes and happiness, or failures and not. You know, you are responsible for everything. And as long as you don't take on that responsibility fully, that's why I love, for example, also part of my mentorship was teaching mindset issues, but not like, hey, let's be happy kind of stuff, but like stoicism, for example, like real philosophies that like matured over the ages of mankind, okay? That produced great personalities like Seneca, like Marcus Aurelius, like, you know, or even Robert Greene, Ryan Holiday, you know, like real people that are giving so much value to the world and to the people and in the way they think. And it just, I'm sad a little bit that people would really just, it's all about like, hey, you didn't make me millionaire overnight kind of thing, you know? And I wish that people would really get their head straight, because they think like that, they're going to continue to be unsuccessful and unhappy for a very long time, if not forever. The chances are very high for that.
I saw them, look, just to shorten this kind of topic, because it's a pretty negative.
I'm going to be the right. Sorry.
Or like my morning just started. I don't even want to start with this kind of people, you know, but just to put that in place, those kind of people, they will never be successful. Because if you having, you know, I never go on platforms and start reviewing people that I actually don't even know personally, just because I didn't deliver, you know?
Yeah. Right.
The issue is, you just brought it to the point, those people, they didn't sit down, they didn't do the work, and just, you know, just because you don't put in the work, it's not a scam.
It's not a scam, yeah.
It's not a scam. I mean, it's easy, you know, and then the issue with Instagram and TikTok and all these kind of platforms and those reviewing platforms, it gives everyone a, what do you call it, a opinion, you know? It gives one a way to express his opinion. And I'm not a big fan of the...
Without repercussions and without cost. That's the thing, you know, you can trash someone without repercussions and without any cost for you. That's why it's easy to do it.
Exactly. And that's why I do personally believe, and I know now I'm going to get probably not being liked from many people. I'm not a big fan of democracy.
All right, wow.
I do believe some people are not allowed to have the opinion, because it destroys certain kind of peace. You know what I mean?
It's a strong statement for sure. I don't think we would need to go deeper to unpack this.
No.
I can say in simple terms, I don't agree, but I understand why you say that.
I just want to step back a little bit. I don't want to, you know, it was just a harsh, you know,
No, I 100%. Like, don't also, I didn't mean to like, but yes, for sure. I do realize what you mean.
You know, to put it in an easier term, if you have no clue, just shut the fuck up.
Pretty much at one point. I understand. And also, you know, what I agree with, I think, and this ties back to the point where I said it's like, having an opinion comes at no cost. I think it should come with a cost. You should need to be able to, you should need to have something on the line before you can just shout your toxic statement, you know?
Yeah.
If it's just for toxicity, but if you're, you know, there's a lot of considered toxic people out there that, in my opinion, are not toxic at all, and that are extremely putting in a lot of effort and have a high cost to what they do. I know people like Jordan Peterson, for example. Not many people hate this guy, but I think he's putting so much effort, time, and money into explaining his ideas that his opinion should definitely not be silenced. You know, we can even go one level further, and now people would hate me. I think Andrew Tate is also one of those guys. You know, and
at the end of the day, he expresses his opinion,
and his cost came at 3 months jail now, for example. You know, and then there's these internet rambos that, you know, watch porn all day, don't produce $1 for anyone, don't take responsibility for anything. Again, no offense, guys. I don't need to be judgmental here. But that's actually get us to the next topic, interestingly enough. Comfort zone and school system, right? And especially since you mentioned that in Europe as well. It just seems that 2 people have 5 opinions these days and 13 genders. How did we get there? And is that good?
I mean, look, that's why I stepped a little bit back. But, you know, I think if everyone can do whatever he wants and whenever he wants, without rules, without boundaries, without
There's inflation happening, basically.
without putting any limits on it, you can destroy your economy. As much as we love democracy, maybe I should have described it in a different way. I think democracy in this kind of way, like
100%. I understand that.
you know, if someone, for example, interrupts the traffic and sits in front of the traffic lights for several hours, and you can't take your plane, or you maybe can't get your daughter to the hospital, I don't believe that's nice democracy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do see the point here. I agree that there should be like more consideration for these things, you know, and like you said, if anyone can just randomly do or say anything and not needing to take responsibility for it, that's really the problem. And I think so what we have here is that we have this very liberal way of thinking that infiltrated school systems, and also on top, people are not really taught to develop their own beliefs and to go after them, to prove and disprove them. I think that's, by the way, that's one of the biggest learnings in trading for me, is that whatever I think about the market or about a strategy, I need to go out and prove or disprove it. You know, I will find out, does it work? Does it not work? Where does it work? Where does it not work? And I think a lot of that process in the normal world has been removed through the schooling that is really just like this template of how you should think, of how you should be, what opinions you should have, and all these things. So the results of that is, in my opinion, is really like we're seeing the results of that today, you know, and we have much less productivity. We have a skyrocketing unhappiness. We have the most, in my opinion, still most sacred and most strongest institution, the family unit, has been weakened massively. People are not having children anymore. We have a demographic problem because of that. People are eating more or less being poisoned with their foods on top. And I'm also like, I've been struggling with weight since I don't even remember myself not struggling with weight from a very young age, because, you know, once you get over a certain threshold in something, it's very difficult to go back. So it's important actually that you don't even get there in the first place. But with the way our education is set, they're pushing people over these thresholds. You know, so you're so unhappy you can't find your own way back of it. That's why you hate society. That's why you hate your job. That's why you don't get productive at nothing. That's why you don't contribute. That's why you don't like anybody. That's why you don't have children. That's why you separate all the time. That's why you cheat. That's why you steal. That's why you that's how these things. It's just crazy, right?
The list is endless, but it all comes down to one thing: what do you bring to the table?
Right.
You know, that's someone. I get the question a lot. You know, I mean, being someone that does mentorships and trading, it's also speaking about with the people about mindset.
Yeah. What value are you bringing? Yeah. What do you bring to the table?
And the question that I always tell everyone is, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah, don't be entitled. Earn your title.
What do you only ask for certain things, but what do you bring to the table? You know, what do you bring to the table? I mean, this kind of question is essential because it drives me. You know, whenever I sit with successful people, the first question, if it comes to business, that I ask myself, what do I bring to the table?
What am I bringing in value to the table? You know, that's another interesting thing, and probably people will hate me now more, especially the liberal thinking, or maybe even women. And I came across a video the other day, and I just thought this concept was crazy. I'm not saying I fully agree or disagree, but I do see clear tendency here. Have you heard the word wholeflation before? Or think they might have an idea what wholeflation might mean?
No, but just by listening to it already, I get.
And you know, it's actually go. No, but it's what it basically means is that the modern man today needs to work 5 times harder than his grandfather needed to get a woman that is 20 times worse than his grandmother was. It's basically, women are not asking themselves the question, or much less what are they bringing to the table. They just, being told the story, you're this princess always. You can have 100 boyfriends, doesn't matter. Your body count can be 3,000, and you'll still be that entitled woman that brings everything to the table automatically by design. You don't take care of your man. You do whatever you want. He needs to bring to the table for you. And that disconnect in what men need to do and what women expect is creating even more craziness in this world we live in. Again, I'm not trying to bash women here in any way. I'm just saying, like, when a woman brings caretaking qualities to a table, or just puts whatever, there needs to be both sides need to bring something to the table. This should tie it back to your conversation. Everyone needs to bring something to the table, and it needs to be more than just because I exist, I bring to the table. No, that's not really enough, right?
I will bring it to the point in my view. What kills Middle Europe, especially Middle Europe, too much comfort zone. Mm-hmm. There's always someone there who's gonna, help you if you do something wrong.
Right.
The punishment for doing something wrong is very, very, very weak, or is very low, or call it whatever you want. The next thing is nobody really clarifies genders. Everyone can be everything, and you can be even a thing now in some countries. And I think this kind of barriers also help, to get away from standards. I'm not saying standards are good, but they help to keep
more confusion, more division.
Exactly, they help society to stay in shape, because the more opinions you have, the more minorities you have, and everyone has his own opinion, and everyone wants the way how he wants it. I think that creates issues in a society, and people, and we had the conversation last time, you can laugh as much as you want about Dubai. In Dubai, nobody does shit here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They some crimes, but I'm going to tell you, you put your phone on top of your car, and nobody going to steal it.
Yeah. Actually, what I think is the even more impressive part of Dubai, and that is really interesting for every parent out there. It's the most drug-free country I have seen in the world.
Yeah, of course.
Seriously, you go to Germany, they're popping pills, smoking weed, or whatever from 12, 11 years old, and it's normal. Everybody does that in school, more or less. That's and now obviously they want to legalize the whole weed thing and whatever, and we can talk about that some other time. There's too much about. But in Dubai, yes, there is alcohol there, but first of all, it's very expensive, so that takes it away from most people, and you cannot just buy it anywhere anyway, not at all. So it's not literally impossible for your children, if they grow up there, to get sucked into that devilish cycle of doom that exists in Europe and the Western world from day one on. That's really, I think, that's a big, big, big disadvantage to the Western world.
I really do laugh about, someone like Germany or Austria or Netherlands, or all these kind of countries, they have so much shit to deal with. But you always say they get involved in countries that are running much better, and it doesn't make sense to me, if your country is not running better than another country, why would you sit down and express your opinion? And who cares about your opinion? Thinking is getting bankrupt anytime soon, but in your country, it takes several years to finish an airport, and some roads are not within 15 years.
And this is scam. This is outright scam. Billions of euros have been misappropriated.
It's a scam. Look, I don't want to, we don't want to, link to...
It's not bashing, really, guys. It's about how do we improve. But in order to improve, we need to point the finger at what's going on first.
Of course, and I know a lot of people, once the podcast goes viral, a lot of people will say, what, they stay in Dubai? Why do you speak about...
Yeah.
It's my own country. I'm born there. I got raised up there, and I do care about it.
It's a part of me. I cannot cut it out, but I remove myself from that environment for those reasons.
Exactly, and by growing up, I started understanding things in a different way. I started realizing, hang on a second, I go to my job, I pay taxes, then I get my pension, and then I pay the taxes on the pension. Then I go to the
Well, taxes all the time for everything on top. Meanwhile,
again, then I pay again taxes. Come on, guys, who is the biggest?
in Germany, you cannot even invest tax-free like a 401k in the US, and now they're thinking of maybe if you hold stocks for more than 10 years, maybe you can get some reduction. But it's like it's impossible. Like to grow in Germany is really challenging. It's really challenging.
Honestly, it's
From zero up. That's what I mean. That's why it's not called the German dream. It's called the American dream for that matter. Which, by the way, isn't that American anymore that much neither, but it's still more possible to go from zero to hero in that kind of environment. And especially nowadays in countries like the UAE. If you're skilled, if you work, if you learn, if you make yourself valuable, if you bring something to the table, if you don't get distracted by these nonsense conversations, you focus, you help to solve problems, solutions, create something, build something, make money, whatever, all these things, then you will get very nicely paid for that in a country like the UAE, for example. And in Germany, it's not so clear that would happen, in fact. I hope
no. It's not just that, it's also the tax.
Oh, Europe in general.
Just to bring it to the point, Germany as an industry country, looking at their salaries, comparing them to other, strong economies, it's low. It's pretty low. The income is pretty
crazy how people like think they can make a living like that for the rest of their lives. And it's the same time when the currencies being inflated on top, because that's what central bank currencies, fiat currencies do. Anyway, that's the history of it. I mean, that comes on top, so your savings will not be worth anything if you have any in the first place.
No, yes. We really need to do a separate podcast about
yeah, that's too much now. I agree.
As you can see, we're going from comfort zone straight away to Germany because it triggers me and it triggers you. Right. Because I think we easily, call people, just to summarize what we spoke about today, I think we can come to a conclusion which says people always speak quickly about something is scam just because it doesn't work for them, because Germany gave them that comfort zone in most of the time, not always, but most of the time, that comfort zone that if it doesn't work, don't worry about it. Someone is going to take care of you. I do believe if you would live in a different country where you would have certain opportunities that you need to take, you can't just take 10% of the lesson, go on Trustpilot, write a review, because, maybe that guy is your only shot out of the fly. You know what I mean?
Right. That's actually an interesting point of view. Yes.
Of course, because I'm going to tell you, I look at this leaderboard, or those leaderboards of those prop companies every time. Looking at them, seeing someone from Vietnam on the top 10, with an average salary of $225 in Vietnam per month, making $37,000, belonging to the top traders worldwide in the prop trading industry, it bothers me. When I don't see a German guy there that,
Right, like why is there no one? Yeah, true. Yeah.
He has zero worries. Someone is going to pay his rent if he doesn't do the work, but he still looks for an opportunity to write a review that something is wrong.
Negative, yeah. It's like wallowing in negativity. That's, I think, is bad. Yeah.
No, I'm just that. That's why we need to do this kind of point.
It's wasted potential. That's really, I think, that the frustration that talks out of us here is really the wasted potential. It's the sadness about what could be if people would change. More people would change their point of views, would remove their entitlement, would work on themselves, would accept responsibilities and these things. I mean, then we very surely can get back to a thriving, producing society. And then obviously the ideas of being more inclusive, of taking care of the weaker part of the economy and the society, these things are not wrong. But when this whole thing gets twisted upside down, then suddenly there's no one else that is producing anymore. And the ones that do produce, they go elsewhere because and nobody else feels the responsibility anymore. But I think you're right. We should cut this down in smaller topics. Again, at this point, guys, everything we're trying to convey here is love, in a way that even criticism is a form of love. You need to express things and really try to do that. And we're not trying to do this in a disrespectful manner. We're showing our faces. We're taking responsibility. So, so I really hope that you can see that as well. And we're not trying to just like nag and be negative and pull everything down. On the contrary, we hope to give perspectives, insights, inspirations to get out of this deadlock that we feel is closing in on everybody more and more and more, so that we can do our part to help people find their ways out of that. Because at the end of the day, you have to do it by yourself, for yourself, and this is how you create a better world for everyone.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, I just want to also, I know I said it last time, I'm going to say it again. I'm thankful for Germany. I'm thankful for the opportunity, because sometimes it gets, understood wrong.
Yeah, right. And it gets also, I have to admit, like maybe not well enough expressed, because if you think about it, the time I grew up in Germany, in my case, the 80s, and for example, my parents or my father came to Germany from Syria in 1960. By the way, because he had one of the best Abitur in Syria, so he was sent to Germany, but he needed to fight his way there himself. He put himself through university. Obviously, he got the help and support of all the infrastructure and also nice people in Germany at the time. And that gave him all the opportunity. And without that, I wouldn't be where I am. So at that point, big thank you, obviously, to all of that. And I just hope that the environment in Germany comes back to a state where it supports these opportunities again, because right now I feel it doesn't anymore.
No, and being supportive, you know what I mean? Being just supportive. And I just feel like when I look at the internet in Germany and, the complete environment nowadays, I just feel like they just look for something to bash on,
Yeah.
They just to hit on, and it just baffles me, because the stories that I got from my parents, that there was barely crime, there was barely someone want to harm you, there was friendly people all around.
Different type of world, yeah. Different environment.
Sometimes I speak to my mother and I tell her, what kind of country are you speaking about? This country you speak about, I didn't experience,
Yeah.
And I experienced once I hit 15, 16, now I'm 33. So it was a time where I remember, man, it was a very nice country. It was a very nice, well-established country. You could make money in it and you would live good, you know what I mean? You could pay your mortgage and you still have enough money to go overseas. And now you saw it's dropping and dropping and dropping. But like you said, we don't want to go into bits and pieces.
But that is to the end to like offer some word of appreciation but also are the realities of our lives here for sure, for our home country.
No.
Rami, that was fantastic to have these conversations again. I'm really looking forward to continuing to do that. Again, if you guys enjoyed that, leave us a comment. Let us know any topics that you're interested in, because at the end of the day, we don't just do this for ourselves, obviously, but we'd like to do it for everyone who finds this or who wants to be part of it. So let us know what you would like us to talk about, and we're very happy to go into that too.
Just want to also emphasize that we're still working on our technology that we use.
Right. Yeah.
Don't be angry if at one stage the audio is not as it should be, or
we'll get there.
We will get there. So we're working on it. So just give us a few days, a few weeks, and I'm sure that we'll get up there.
Certainly. No, it's going to be top notch, guys. That's honestly what our own expectations of ourselves is. It's just going to need to take a little bit of time and adjustments here and there. But also, any feedback you want to give, let us know as well.
Okay.
So my pleasure always to speak with you, my friend. I enjoy this very much. I look forward to doing this.
Take care. Lovely day. Yeah. Take care.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.